Nairobi's Mukuru slum is amongst the biggest slums in Kenya. As would be expected, Mukuru is highly populated with a huge fraction of the population below the age of 30. Life in the ghetto, with such a huge number of youth, has always been full of challenges. High rates of unemployment resulting into increased crime, poverty, lack of proper education, substance abuse, just to mention but a few. Increased poverty levels is a major reason for high statistics of school dropout levels, with the young and uneducated men and women opting to hustle for their daily bread. It is with this in mind that the Wazalendo Hockey Club initiated the Wazalendo Young Players Development Program, otherwise known as the WYPDP. Under the WYPDP, Wazalendo have taken upon themselves to socially transform the lives of the youth from Mukuru slums in resonance with their club motto, more than a game. Wazalendo Hockey Club was established in 1995. After then, Kenya Breweries Hockey Club was disintegrated into two.
It was me together with 9 others who we sort of founded Wazalendo Hockey Club back in 1995.
The club's founding fathers include the late Tobias Oduor and late Eric Otieno, Julius Odera, Edwin Were, the late Ian Taifa, and Joseph Ndamboki Koji.
Na Moses Majiwa, na Wycliffe Ongori, na Vincent Ongori.
Julius Odera, Eric Otieno, the late, Edwin Were, Ian Taifa, the late, and Ndamboki Joseph. So these guys then they started using young players to continue playing hockey, because they were asking themselves, if they stop playing hockey, then where will young people get space to actually play hockey?
Lacking the numbers to make a complete team, the team relied on Jamuhuri High School students to fill the positions. This exercise was to later become the backbone of the club's success. Annually, the club will visit the schools and later universities to motivate and share its hockey experience with the young and talented players.
Wazalendo, nafahamu hiyo timu nzuri sana. Hata nimefanya nao mazoezi mara nyingi sana. Na hapo ndio wakati nilikuja Nairobi nilipata nafasi ya kupata coach wa Wazalendo ambaye alitumia lugha fulani ikanifanya nikageuza hockey yangu kabisa. Nilikuwa nimeinua mawe, nilikuwa na nguvu. Anaitwa Wabes. Akanielezea mtu yote aikaa kando nione nitazame, anaweza fikiri ameona ndovu. Lakini kipewa ile boli ni kama mosquito. Nikasikia mbaya sana, lakini nikaifuata na nikapendelea Wazalendo vile wanafunza. Ndio nikapata kujua Wazalendo wana ofisi fulani ambayo ile klabu ninachezea hatuna. Ngaje tumesonga juu pia kiasi.
Wazalendo owes its existence primarily to 2 players, Edwin Were and Julius Odera, both of whom have since retired to their rural areas but are still part and parcel of the club. They were determined to maintain the team at all costs. They set about recruiting upcoming and talented players who shared their vision.
Tangu niwaache Wazalendo, hockey wise wako vizuri sana sasa hivi. Hockey wise. Lakini nini? Wakienda mtaani, tuseme Kibira, wanasaidia watu wale watu hawajiwezi. ama kusaidia kufanya kazi kidogo ndogo kwa nyumba na kukota takataka.
Since its establishment in 1995, Wazalendo has always focused on the development of young players in the sport, the identification, mentoring and provision of opportunity to young talented players is the core of the vision of the club and exposed by the founder chairman Mr. Edwin Were.
Hockey ni mzuri sana, especially team kama Wazalendo. Si hockey pekee utacheza huko. Hata kusoma unaweza peleka kwa hata kusoma. Watu wanafikiria watu kabisa sana. Au si hockey pekee yake. Ni vitu mingi utagame. Ukiweza jioni Wazalendo. Team kama Wazalendo kucheza hockey.
Wazalendo Hockey Club is actually a self-supporting club in the country, and I believe that it's one of the clubs that plays a major role in terms of the hockey fraternity in the country, and also not only hockey but in terms of other sports, because I believe when at Wazalendo, whatever we do there, not only hockey teams come to try to emulate what we have there, but there are also other sports in terms of even football and other things. So Wazalendo really plays a major role in the country in terms of social development and other things.
At inception, Wazalendo recruited from Jamhuri High School to make up the team, and to date, Moses Kagochi is the remaining member of that crop of players. The others include Moses Kamau, Julius Njero, and others who have since retired from active hockey.
Strategy is actually to produce people who are citizens who can be dependent upon and who can depend upon themselves in the society.
In subsequent years, Wazalendo established a nursery of players from schools such as Alliance, Kamusinga, Nairobi School and Lenana to name but a few, through annual hockey clinics it held in these schools. This practice would later be extended to the universities and subsequently included annual tournaments where such talents would be tested.
So we have a major wing of Wazalendo that actually help us to get players, which is actually the youth development program. From the youth development program, we can be able to actually get a good number of players who are currently actually growing with the club as a club.
The tide, however, changed when the university started appreciating the sport and hence began mobilizing their teams to take active involvement in the leagues. This prompted Wazalendo to change its young player development strategy to focus more on pre-secondary school, hence the relaunch of the program in the year 2011.
Mtu akiwa mdogo mara nyingi sana ubongo wake ufunguka na anapata nafasi ya kuchukua vitu nyingi sana ambazo anafunzwa kwa urahisi akiwa mdogo.
According to Moses Majiwa, the director of Young Players Development Program, the club is managed by trustees and the management committee.
Founders were transformed into a strategic committee we call the trustees, who now strategically guide the club in its strategy and policy.
We have at the club we have different committees and different groups of individuals who are working for different objectives. For example, at the club we have a strategic committee that is in charge of actually trying to identify the problems that we have at the club and trying to find different ways of solving the problem.
We have two levels of structure. There is the management structure, and then there is the playing unit structure. In the management structure, we have trustees at the highest level, who, as I've said, only deal with the strategy and policy of the club. Then we have the Central Management Committee, which is composed of the middle level or middle-aged club members who run the club on a day-to-day basis. Then below them we have the players, among which fall the captain and the vice captain, and then of course the younger players who are just getting introduced into the game.
Initially, the main aim of this program was to help Wazalendo create its own players other than depending on ready-made players from high schools. However, upon its launch, WYPDP always aims at exploring and exposing talent at an early age. The program focuses on getting players from primary school and nurturing their talent onwards.
The Young Players Development Program is a program that Wazalendo introduced when we were restructuring the club, because we saw over time that what we were doing actually was basically transforming people's lives when we introduced them into hockey, and through the interaction we have with us in the club, the discipline and the follow-through of their careers, we were helping them to become better people.
The Youth Development Program is a program that we actually came up with at Wazalendo so that we can be able to nurture and grow with young players. It's actually, we are actually getting very young people, or young children, to get involved into hockey. So we develop them from the scratch, from that basic level, so that they can be able to grow. As they grow, we can be able to have them learn different skills in hockey.
Wazalendo Youth najua vile nafanya kazi, sababu bado hata kwa sasa nafanya mazoezi nao kama nina nafasi, ama wakicheza lazima nikaribie nione vile wanacheza. Hiyo Youth Development Program yao ni nzuri, maana vijana wengi ni wale naona wanasoma hapo shule za karibu, watoto wadogo wanatoka pale chini, kwa hiyo South B hapo kona. Si watoto wametoka na maisha ya hockey na wamepata nafasi ya kupewa kwa hiyo uwanja na wale senior players wa Wazalendo, na pia uzuri wanaleta paka watoto wao ndani. Sasa wale watoto wadogo wakija, wakiungana na hao wakatengeneza timu ikakuwa na namba kubwa.
If you look at the slogan of Wazalendo, it says more than a game. Okay, so Wazalendo, we get more involved in more than just the game that we're having. So we've tried, the Youth Development Program has actually changed the lives of different individuals. We have that from the Youth Development Program, we have actually been able to get kids who have been able to go to school from Form 1 to Form 4, and this is as a result of the Youth Development Program, where we assist them in terms of maybe helping them to be able to get scholarships, get to school fee and other things. So it has generally helped in developing the general objective of Wazalendo Hockey Club.
Ya Wazalendo ni tofauti kidogo, maana wanapeleka mtoto shule na wana link up na mzazi wa huyu mtoto. Mtoto sasa anaweka bidii shule, anajua mambo ya shule hatashindwa, maana analipiwa school fees kiasi fulani. Mara shule pia inakuja inaangalia mchezaji anacheza vizuri, Wazalendo wamemsukuma vizuri, wanamlipia kiasi fulani. Sasa yule mwanafunzi kuacha shule ni ngumu.
And then we have the youth team which plays in the National League. We are also having the young players who belong to the Young Players Development Program. These are people who are just being introduced into the game. Once they develop, then we bring them into the youth team, and once they're fully mature, then and they demonstrate so, then we move them into the next level, which is the senior team.
The program has an overall objective of socially transforming the lives of those who undergo through it.
We advise players, both young and old, in terms of their educational status or whatever they do in education, and also we advise them on the training skills that may be required at specific times of their life. We have young players who are coming to the club. We generally select players, or we select young people who are interested in playing the game. But in addition to that, we are also others who might not be interested in the game, but we find different avenues of actually getting them to get interested into the game.
Some of the players to have benefited from the WYPDP include Stanley Chege, Nelson Shilaku, Festus Kamanja, Joshua Ndungu, James Zioka, and Sila Mwao.
Number one is to introduce hockey to young people, and number two, to help them transform their life. In other words, Young Players Development Program is aimed at social transformation of the player who joins that program. In the end, when this player joins in the end, this player will become somebody different socially and possibly career-wise.
Born on the 29th of February 1992, Stanley Chege began playing hockey in early 2003, aged 11 years. Having been lured by watching the training sessions of the club at Highway Secondary School, where he resides, He mastered the game so fast to the point of being snapped up by Musingu High School of Western Kenya on partial scholarship for his secondary education immediately after completing his primary education. He was the captain of the hockey team at Musingu High School during his senior years. He currently turns up for Wazalendo seniors team and was part of the team that represented Kenya in the under-21 competitions in South Africa.
My highest moment ni yenye tumecheza mpaka tumefika playoff la ni KPL, hii Kenya Premier League. Maybe baada waende wakamtegea mama kikaa hiyo, wanakuja kwa hockey, alafu wanakuja wanapata hizo skills. Sasa hawezi na kufanya vitu mbaya.
13 years old Sila Mau is another one of young boys currently undergoing the WYPDP.
Niliendanga training nikiwa na 12 years, ndo nikakuja hapa 13 years nikaanza kucheza game. Nilikuwa shule tunasoma tukiwa class 7, tukakujiwa na Majiwa ndo alikuwa coach wetu. Akatuambia tunaweza join hockey. Sasa tulikuwa vijana wengi tukaenda tukajoin. Lakini ni tulikuwa na bidii tukabaki wanne. Sasa hivi tumebaki wanne. Kama nitaamua kucheza, naona nacheza. Kama nitaamua kusoma na uko kwa darasa unasoma. Sasa inabidi ufanye kitu yenye iko adaptive. Unajua hockey tuliambiwa is a special game. Sio ya kila mtu. Unajua football kila mtu anaweza cheza, sio kama hockey. Tena hockey ni expensive. Saa hizi bado watu hawajua hockey ni game ya maana. Sasa miaka zinakuja kama 4 hivi, hockey itakuwa imejulikana kila pahali. Sasa kila mtu anataka kucheza, wataenda sasa.
We accompany Moses Majiwa as he takes a trip down the Fuata Nyayo slums, a section of the Mukuru slum in South B. This is where Sila lives with his family. Strolling through the dirty paths on the way to Sila's home, one can't imagine being on the way to a home of Kenya's hockey star. Sila is a third born in a family of 5. They live in this shanty with their mother, Mama Sila, a single mother. On this afternoon, Trustee Moses Majiwa has paid a visit to Sila and the mother to review his school performance.
Okay. Niko na hizo results hapa. Naona okay, wakati ulikuwa unaenda huko mlikuwa waine na wewe ulikuwa na max 348 za KCPE na wale wengine walikuwa na max chini yako, na bado hata nikiangalia max zako hapa ni kama ulipata juu zaidi ya kuwashinda. Lakini nikiangalia hizi max zako zingine haujafanya vizuri sana. Ni nini ilikuwa inafanyika mpaka haukufanya vizuri?
Sikuwa namaliza.
Matarajio yako ni gani?
Ni improve kwa mtihani nilifanya na kusoma vile nilikuwa.
Sasa uta-improve namna gani? Ukisoma.
Sila and his 4 brothers live in a small cubicle together with their mother. The cubicle is adjacent to an open sewer system. Mama Sila says when he trains, the sewer overflows and some of the waste leaks to their house to an ankle level.
Ingia maji mpaka inafika hapa.
Inafika juu?
Hapo.
Maji.
Maji.
Ikinyesha.
Sipande nyingine kuna mtaro. Nitampitisha pande nyingine. Maji inafika hapa.
Sila is a beneficiary of Wazalendo Youth Development Program. He plays hockey for club's youth team. In return, Wazalendo have placed him on a partial scholarship at Musingu High School. Mama Sila operates a small kiosk at the slum. Sales from the kiosk cannot enable him pay Sila's school fees plus that of his brothers.
Lakini Sila ukuja kukusaidia hapa kweli?
Si alikuwa hapa.
Sila knows very well the benefits of enrolling with the WYPDP. He is committed to developing his hockey career albeit the many challenges. He is committed to improving in his academics.
Tony! Hadi jamaa, talk to them.
James Kayeko Onyango is a good example of a player reaping the fruits of WYPDP. The Kenya police goalkeeper, who is also the national team goalkeeper, spent enough time at Wazalendo through the WYPDP, where he perfected his hockey goalkeeping skills.
I was very young, but I was giving my all. That's why the people there helped me. The people at Wazalendo also saw me. They took me from Kisumu just because of my hard work and dedication. And when I'm in goal, everybody feels. Like when I came to Wazalendo, I remember forming DOD, Department of Defense, that I formed in Wazalendo. We agreed that we should not be scored.
Under the WYPDP, recruits are taught basic hockey skills. Their academic files are opened, and they are also subjected to regular social skills training. Through these programs, Wazalendo has established a nursery of players and also established relationships with different schools like Mariakani Primary School, Highway Secondary School, both situated in Nairobi South B, and Musingu High School in Kakamega. The program, Social Transformation, helps in nurturing young players with the right attitude for success, both in the sport and in life, other than getting involved in such activities like drug trafficking. The YDP program encompasses recruitment, introduction to the sport, training on the game, personal responsibility, as well as mentoring on general aspects of life.
The youth development program is a one-year program at Wazalendo. When we bring in a player, we know that that player has no knowledge about hockey at all. So the first thing is to introduce them to the sport. It's the basics of the sport, the rules of the game, because the rules determine how the player behaves.
The youngsters are fresh; they don't have all the basics, and basically they haven't played hockey anyway. But the flip side is it is good because then you mold them, you tell them what you want, and for them it's very they adapt very quickly compared to the experienced players who've been coached before. So they come up with kind of some mindset on how hockey should be played. For the juniors, it's actually easy, but also challenging because then they are fresh, they don't have all the ideas, so you got to start from the scratch basically. You start with the basics for the youngsters. Tell them how to hold the stick. Of course, you teach them how to protect themselves when they're playing. You teach them the rules of the game. On the senior side, it's more to do with drills, more to do with the systems of play, and how to overcome different situations of the game. Depends. Some of them actually understand and grasp the techniques of the game very fast, just like the way people grow at different rates. So you find, but there isn't any specific, you can say like 6 months or 1 year. But I think if you take a player for 1 good year, from the scratch, they'll be able to kind of play a competitive game. Not they're competitive at the international level or national level, but able to kind of play in a game whereby the aim is to win it. So 1 year will be like they understand the basics, they understand the rules, and they can play the game. Wazalendo, we welcome all the players. We cannot guarantee them anything. We can only tell them we'll assist them if they want to learn the game. We'll take them through the proper training. We care about the small kids because we know that is the future of the sport. I would really encourage them to come and join us. And of course, the most important thing is for them to have a blank mind. Not blank in that they don't have mind, but blank in that they free their brain so that they can learn. Having that will and eager to learn, I think that will help.
Just like any other self-sponsored sports club in Kenya, there are numerous challenges that come with not only running the WYPDP, but the hockey club as whole. Player retention, youth development, training facilities, and playing equipment are some of the greatest challenges the club faces. Funding has also been a huge challenge, especially bearing in mind that hockey is a costly game. Acquiring equipment itself is a costly affair. Hockey sticks, balls, shin guards, and the keeper's kits are all costly, and acquiring the best would mean digging deeper into the pockets.
I mean, the biggest challenge is, as you know, hockey is an expensive sport. So one of the challenges is the equipment. You find that maybe the sticks which the youngsters, of which the club have managed to get the youngsters, are not of very good standard. Yeah, some of the players don't have equipment like shoes. You can see like those players there, they're training without shoes. So that's a very big challenge actually to us as a coaches, because if you don't have the right equipment, then it becomes very difficult to impact any particular piece of skill. So you need them to have the proper skills, proper equipment, and then they'll be able to take on the skills we impact into them.
All this financial support that we've not been able to actually find that so that we can be able to generally develop these youth players, because we find that it's a self-supporting club, so the same members of the club who are supposed to be supporting the senior team is also supporting the youth development program. Yeah, okay. So that's one of the main challenges that we've had. The other challenges that we might come across with or be able to sort is that sometimes you see at the beginning when you have young players coming into the club, okay, you find that parents might not be very, very comfortable having the children coming for training.
Number one, hockey, you must appreciate, is an expensive sport. Hockey is played with special shoes, studded shoes. These are not very cheap shoes. In the second-hand market, one shoe goes for 3,000 shillings. Hockey is played using what we call shin pads, which you use to cover your shins because you of the danger of the ball hurting you. A shin pad is about 2,000 or so. Hockey is played using a hockey stick, and without a hockey stick you can't play. A good hockey stick goes for about 4,000 shillings.
Financially, pengine tulimit financial problems sana. Kulikuwa na problems sana ya finance, ambaye mtu kama mimi na wewe wale wanafanya kazi saa hizo walikuwa na contribute to that club a lot. Saa hizo starting yenyewe ni ngumu, sio rahisi, it's hard.
In Kenya, hockey is not a professional sport, and thus players have been gradually forced to look for more into their personal life and interests, such as academics and their own career at the expense of hockey. Despite the challenges, Wazalendo Hockey Club aspires to, among other things, create a self-sustaining youth academy to nurture young talent, owning a hockey facility and contributing to developing the sport. The WYPDP is a good initiative that requires maximum support to grow to its full potential. With support from the government, the union, corporate partners and stakeholders, then this Wazalendo initiated program will not only revamp hockey in Kenya, but will create around it a strong and conscious community.
Getting assistance, say from corporates, I believe this can go a long way to be able to support this program. As it is right now, we are doing this program at a very small scale because of the little resources that we can be able to get. But we would have wished to expand this program. We have had a number of one-off, so to speak, donations, like David Madenge, the musician, also known as Nameless, admired what we were doing, and he gave us 10,000 shillings, which we used to buy second-hand shoes for the children. We also had the Kenyan Star Media House who visited us, and they also gave us a donation of 10,000 shillings, which we also used to buy shoes and stockings and shin pads for the young children.